You're right, Till. So, a friend of mine has just told me that apparently the leader of the group in Palestine, shall we call it? Again, I've got to be careful because the algorithm. So, the group in Palestine is kicking off with a group in Israel. It's been in the media a lot recently. Apparently, it's called for the Islamic world to kick off tomorrow on Friday. So, who knows? All these people in these hotels could potentially be deployed and causing mass chaos and anarchy across the West. That's just a potential speculation, but more importantly, what date is it tomorrow and what day? Friday the 13th. What would be the chances of that? Again, is this all just some big ritual pantomime like what Shakespeare said, or the world's a stage? I don't know, but certainly I just think it's very convenient that on Friday the 13th could potentially have big civil unrest. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. I mean, this has happened. These sort of like Mizzy, and Mizzy apparently tried to get all the black kids on the streets, causing chaos not so long ago in London. I think he did, but not on the scale that is probably desired by the people. To quote Nigel Watson, the powers that shouldn't be. Um, it hasn't happened quite on the scale that they desire because you've got to remember. I think is it the dollar bill? With the pyramid. I think it says something on the back. I can't remember the inscription, but apparently it says something to do with a new order, but basically it's order out of chaos to get to the point. So if these people can create so much chaos, they can bring in a lot of order. Now, to draw attention to a movie that's one of my favourite, because the thing is with Britain, it's different. Obviously, very different to America. We're similar, we're similar people. If our demographics are becoming similar, our governments are doing the same thing to us. We're both brilliant super countries, powerhouses of the world, both in decline now with little industry left. So Britain's dystopian sci-fi movies, are often very different to the American super futuristic ones. And now Britain, with all its historic buildings and historic plaques and pubs and churches and sleepy countryside, it's totally different to America. But we are declining. There's no doubt about it. We're not on the incline at all anymore. I've been into some of these middle class villages, and it's full of people who live in a totally delusional, out of touch world with what someone who lives in the centre of Leeds or Bradford experiences on a day to day basis. Yeah, but Children of Men came out in 2006, and it shows a Britain in 2026 or 2027 or 8, somewhere around there, in absolute chaos. It's falling apart. You've got the soldiers on the street. You've got civil unrest, and very alarmingly, the main theme is that the human population has lost its fertility. That hasn't quite happened, obviously, but one thing I will say is pretty much most of the people I work with have all mysteriously the re-emergence of the 2020 disease has sprung back up, and they've all become very ill with it. Well, they're all feeling very ill, to the point where they have to go to bed and like a cold. But guess who hasn't had the re-emergence of the 2020 cough? Well, me. And I never took the procedure either. So that's a bit odd, isn't it? So going back to the movie, like there's a bit of a link there between the human population declining, shall we say, and perhaps the events of the last couple of years. Like certain procedure that's taken place. And it was only recently, I think, Sweden were talking about deploying the military on the streets. Uh, because of all the chaos that the governments created themselves, hence order out of chaos. So the government imported all these third world animals. Not all, I don't like to be nasty, but the way a lot of them behave, particularly in Sweden, by the sounds of it, they've turned that country into an absolute ghetto and hellhole. And the same thing's happened in a lot of in Britain and Ireland, and France and Italy and Germany. It's happened everywhere. But I don't blame necessarily the migrants. What I do blame is the people that brought them there, and have totally ignored the public's demands that this come to an end. Um, so, yeah, I think I've covered my main points there. But Yeah, Children of Men. You know, like I think when that came out in 2006, How the World Was. You know, we still had the old. Excuse me, just get my phone. We still had the old burner phones. You know, that's my 2G phone. I haven't gone along with the smartphones and all that. There was no Wi-Fi. Well, there probably was some Wi-Fi, but you had that more sort of home based, and it was quite exclusive at the time. It wasn't everywhere in every town and city. And also they give it to you for free, and that should make people question its effects if there isn't, you know, if there is any. But I think there probably is. In the long run, I think it'd be a slow effect. Um, yeah, so and there was just generally a better vibe in the world. I think. Towns and cities weren't looking like so worn out and decayed. You know, you could quite easily go out for a night out in town and not have to worry about, you know, gangs of Africans or whatever loitering around. Uh, People had more money, I suppose, so there was less homeless people, you know, in the streets, and there was less. There was more people out. You know, when I walked through Derby the other night, it was pretty deserted, really. Same as when I saw Melton Mowbray the other night. You know, I was speaking to my mate who lives there, and she said, "Come 8, 9 o'clock, it's a bit of a ghost town nowadays compared to what it used to be." So yeah, things are extremely different now to what they were in 2006 when this movie came out. It is a really important movie to watch if you're like-minded to myself. You know, 'cause if you believe that movies are a way of them, should we say, in inverted commas, you know, or at least, you know, showing us their hand, or at least it's them kind of showing us what they're planning basically and what they desire. Yeah, so I think I've covered quite a few points. So ultimately, I'd watch Children of Men if you can, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Hopefully, nothing. I think I personally, if I was to put money on it, I don't think anything will happen tomorrow. How many times we heard these bloody sort of doomsday predictions, and I'm hardened to it now. I've heard it enough times. I'm sure something is around the corner, but it'd be too obvious, I think, if we all kind of predicted the date and then it happened. So, but you never know. You never know. So, we'll see what we're looking at in 24 hours' time. Cheers.